You hear a lot about how billionaires make their money, but have you ever wondered what happens next? How you turn a massive fortune into a true dynasty, an engine of influence that can shape the world for centuries to come? Well, that's what we're diving into.
And just to get a sense of the scale we're dealing with, let's just try to wrap our heads around a number that's been in the headlines. $1 trillion. That's a 1 with 12 zeros after it. It's a mind-boggling amount of money that's almost impossible to really comprehend.
But here's the thing. That kind of money is just the beginning. It's the launchpad, the real game. The ultimate question is, how do you convert that sheer financial firepower into real influence that lasts? Not just for your lifetime, but for generations. Believe it or not, there's a playbook for that.
So, let's break down that playbook. First, we'll look at how these fortunes become dynasties. Then we'll walk through the 4 key steps: building the engine, writing the rules, capturing the culture, and securing the future. And you'll see how it all builds into a powerful, self-reinforcing cycle.
And look, this isn't some new 21st century phenomenon. Not at all. From the industrialists of the Gilded Age to the tech founders of today, the names, the faces, and the industries all change. But the core game plan for locking in power, that stays, surprisingly and consistently, the same.
So first things first, it all begins with step 1. You have to build the engine. This is the absolute foundation. It's the source of the economic capital, the raw fuel for the entire rocket ship of dynasty building.
Now, what this engine actually looks like has definitely evolved. Back in the day, you had guys like John D. Rockefeller. His wealth was built on something you could literally touch and see: oil, a tangible monopoly. Fast forward to today, and you've got titans like Bill Gates or Elon Musk. Their empires are built on the intangible, on software code, on patents, on huge, risky bets, on what the future will look like. The product has changed, but the end goal of market dominance is exactly the same.
All right, so the engine's built, it's up and running, and it's churning out cash like there's no tomorrow. What's next? That brings us to step 2. This is where you use that financial power to start shaping the world around you, to start writing the rules of the game itself.
And a huge part of that, as you'd expect, is lobbying. But as this research paper points out, it's not just about getting one specific law passed. Lobbying is really just the tip of the iceberg. It's the visible part of a much deeper, more complex relationship between money and the state.
And the amount of money we're talking about is just, well, it's staggering. Just look at these numbers from 2017. The tech industry's spending on lobbying was right up there with the entire defense industry, and it was way more than the big banks were spending. This isn't just buying a little influence, it's a massive, multi-million-dollar operation designed to mold policy.
But here's where it gets even smarter and way more subtle. The real long game is something called discursive capture. See, it's not about winning a single vote today. It's about changing the entire conversation over time, framing the debate so that what's good for the company starts to sound an awful lot like what's good for the public.
And lobbying, that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's a whole toolkit. You've got funding for academic studies that, surprise, surprise, support your position. You've got the classic revolving door where executives cycle in and out of government jobs. You even see it in how big issues like renewable energy get framed almost exclusively in economic terms, pushing other concerns to the side.
Okay, so you've got the money and you're shaping the laws. Now for step 3, which is a bit different. We're moving from direct political influence to the much more nuanced game of soft power. This is all about capturing the culture. And if you want to see the original playbook for this, you have to go all the way back to the Medici family in Renaissance Florence. They were masters of this. They figured out that funding breathtaking art and scholarship wasn't just a nice hobby. No, it was a core, integral part of their machine of power. It was brilliant. And you see the exact same play today, just with a modern twist. The Medici used patronage of the arts to build what you'd call cultural capital. Today, modern titans use entrepreneurial philanthropy in areas like global health to generate what's called symbolic capital. The methods are different, sure, but the result? It's identical. Legitimacy, prestige, and a seat at the table with world leaders. It creates this kind of halo, making it much harder to criticize their business practices.
Of course, there's an even more direct approach to capturing culture. Why just influence it when you can own it? The Murdoch family's media empire is a perfect example of how you can directly shape political conversations across multiple continents. At that point, you're not just spinning a story, you're building the very stage where the stories get told.
So let's recap. You have the economic engine. You've shaped the rules. You've influenced the culture. What's left? Well, maybe the most crucial step of all, creating the mechanisms to make sure this whole thing outlives you. This is about securing the future.
And the magic tool for this is something called a dynasty trust. It's a really clever financial instrument. The key is that the trust itself owns the assets, not the individuals. This allows the fortune to cascade down through many generations, all while being shielded from things like creditors. And, this is the big one, the massive estate taxes that would normally chip away at it over time.
Now, you might be thinking, why do they need such a rigid structure? It really comes down to this fascinating bit of psychology called the confidence paradox. Research shows that while super wealthy people feel like they're financial geniuses, the reality is they're just as likely as anyone else to make an emotional, sometimes foolish investment decision. So the trust isn't just a tax strategy. It's an engineering solution to protect the family legacy from human error. Okay, so we've walked through all 4 steps of the playbook. Now let's zoom out and see how they all lock together to create something incredibly potent, a self-reinforcing feedback loop.
Here's how it works. You start with the money from the engine. You use that economic capital to influence political rules. Those favorable rules then help you generate even more capital and also allow you to build up symbolic goodwill through things like philanthropy. That legitimacy, in turn, makes it easier to secure and compound the wealth for the future. And what does that bigger pile of wealth get you? More firepower to start the cycle all over again, only stronger this time.
And this is so important to understand, it's not a static system. As one researcher puts it, the word capture is just too weak. It's a dynamic circularity. The firms that are boosted by one set of rules have even more cash to influence the next set of rules. The loop doesn't just repeat itself, it accelerates, gaining momentum with every single turn.
Which, of course, leaves us with a final, really big question. This playbook is undeniably powerful, and it's been used throughout history to build legacies that last. But when private wealth can create a system that reinforces and compounds its own power century after century, what does that mean for the rest of us? What are the implications for democratic ideals and for our very definition of the public interest? That's definitely something we're thinking about.